Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today, we're setting off on a bit of a global adventure, actually. We're going to track the incredible journey of something many of us rely on to start our day. We're diving deep into the world of coffee, from that tiny seed in the ground all the way to the warm cup in your hands.
It's a fascinating story, isn't it? How this simple red cherry becomes this huge worldwide thing.
Yeah.
So our plan is to sort of unpack that journey, explore its path, connecting different cultures, powering economies, and really weaving itself into our history. It's more than just a drink.
Absolutely. Think of it as getting the inside story in your favorite brew.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into this journey. And where else can we start? But right at the beginning. Way back in Ethiopia, is around the 9th century?
That's the legend, yeah. The story everyone knows involves a goat herd named Kaldi. Apparently, he noticed his goats got super energetic, like dancing energetic,
Dancing goats.
after eating these bright red berries from a certain bush. So Kaldi, being curious, tried them himself and, felt that same buzz.
Energetic goats discovering caffeine. You won't forget that origin story. And from those Ethiopian highlands, coffee didn't stay put for long, did it?
No, not at all. Its path pretty quickly led across the Red Sea into the Arabian Peninsula. By the 15th century, it was well established in Yemen.
Yemen. And that's where mocha comes in.
Exactly. The port city of Mocha became so central to the coffee trade that for ages, the name Mocha basically just meant coffee. It's interesting how places get tied to products like that.
It really is. And from Yemen, its influence just kept spreading, right? With empires and trade routes.
Yeah, it moved through the Ottoman Empire, started making its way into Europe, and then, carried by traders and colonial expansion, it crossed the Atlantic over to the Americas by the 16th century.
And it wasn't just the beans traveling, was it? A whole culture grew up around it.
Oh, absolutely. Coffee houses Kavakana popped up first in the Middle East. They were these lively places for socializing, playing games, listening to music, and talking politics.
And then Europe catches on in the 17th century and they just explode.
Totally. You get places like London and Paris with their famous penny universities.
Right. For the price of a coffee, you could sit and listen to debates, learn from thinkers. They were real intellectual hubs.
They really cemented coffee's role. It wasn't just about waking up. It was fuel for conversation, for ideas, for connection.
Which brings us to where it's grown today. It's not just anywhere, is it?
No, it needs specific conditions. It's mostly grown in what we call the coffee belt.
That band around the equator, between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn?
That's the one. Over 70 countries in that zone have the right climate, the warmth, the rainfall, the altitude.
And within that belt, the diversity is just incredible. That's what gives us all the different flavors we taste.
Spot on. And exploring that diversity, looking at specific locations within the belt, really tells the story. Geography is key to what ends up in our cup.
Yeah, how does the place itself shape the bean?
Well, it's everything: the altitude, the soil type, how much rain it gets, the temperature. All these things profoundly influence the coffee's final character.
Okay, let's maybe touch on a few key players. We have to start back in Ethiopia, right? The birthplace.
Definitely. Ethiopia still has this incredible genetic diversity of coffee.
Yeah.
You find unique ancient Arabica varieties like Yirgacheffe.
And what's Yirgacheffe known for?
Often very bright, complex flavors. People describe them as floral, citrusy, almost tea-like sometimes.
Yeah.
Very distinctive.
Okay, now compare that to, say, Brazil. The giant.
Brazil is just massive in terms of volume. Around 40% of the world's coffee comes from there. We're talking something like 66 million bags this year.
Wow.
And they're famous for Arabica too, but typically with those nutty, chocolatey notes, often lower acidity. Think Santos beans. It's coffee production on an industrial scale, really.
And then there's Colombia. Everyone seems to associate Colombia with premium coffee.
They build a strong reputation for high-quality Arabica, yeah. The Andes Mountains give them the high altitudes needed. Colombian coffee is often prized for its balance, its smoothness, and that signature bright acidity. Regions like Medellin, Huila, very well known.
Now, Vietnam is another huge producer, but it's a different story there, isn't it?
That's right. Vietnam's a global leader, number 2 after Brazil, actually, but primarily in robusta coffee.
Robusta.
Yeah, that heartier bean. It's a major component in instant coffee and gives espresso that thick crema, mostly grown in their central highlands.
Okay. What about Indonesia? They have some unique ones too.
Oh, for sure. Sumatra gives us manhaling, known for its earthy, sometimes syrupy body. And then, of course, there's the infamous Kopi Luwak.
Yes, the civet coffee. Very expensive, very controversial.
Indeed. Let's just say its processing method is unique.
Moving across the Pacific, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica is really celebrated for its clean, bright Arabica, especially from the Tarrazú region. They've also been pioneers in sustainable practices like shade-growing coffee, which is great for biodiversity.
Good to hear. And Kenya. I always associate Kenyan coffee with, like, a real zing.
You're not wrong. Kenyan Arabica, especially from areas like Nyeri, is known for bold, often fruity or winey profiles, and a really vibrant, complex acidity. Their processing methods, particularly the washing and fermentation, play a big role there.
So across all these places, the ideal conditions seem to be warmth, good rainfall, fertile soil, often volcanic, right?
Yeah, volcanic soil is often really rich in nutrients.
And crucially, high altitude, especially for Arabica, like 800 to 2,200 meters.
That's the sweet spot for Arabica.
Yeah.
It develops complexity at those heights. Robusta is happier lower down. So you've got these environmental factors, plus farming choices, plus processing. That's why coffee tastes so different depending on where it's from.
And a big part of that difference also comes down to the actual type of coffee plant. We mentioned Arabica and Robusta. They're the big two, right?
They dominate, absolutely. Coffee, Arabica, and coffee Canefra, that's Robusta. Together they make up, well, pretty much all the coffee we drink.
Arabica is the leader in volume, something like 60–70%.
Around that, yeah. It's the one people generally seek out for specialty coffee because of its smoother, more nuanced flavors. You get everything from citrus and berries to caramel and chocolate.
But it's fussier to grow.
It is. Needs those higher altitudes, more specific conditions. It's more vulnerable to pests and diseases. Hence, it usually costs more. And its caffeine content is lower, around 1.2%.
Okay, so contrast that with Robusta.
Robusta makes up the other 30–40%. It's a tougher plant, can handle hotter climates at lower altitudes, gives higher yields. The flavor is generally bolder, more intense, sometimes described as rubbery or bitter.
But it's got that caffeine kick.
Oh yes, significantly more, about 2.2% caffeine. That strength, plus its ability to produce a thick, stable crema, makes it really valuable for espresso blends. And it's the foundation of most instant coffee.
Are there others besides those two?
There are, but they're minor players globally. Liberica and Excelsa account for less than 2% combined. Liberica has a unique, smoky, almost woody taste, and Excelsa can be tart and fruity. You don't see them very often.
And even within Arabica, there are specific varieties, like grape varieties for wine.
Exactly. You have classic ones like bourbon and typica, which are the parents of many other varieties. And then you get these highly sought-after ones like geisha.
Ah, geisha. That's the super premium one, often from Panama.
That's the one originally from Ethiopia, but it gained fame in Panama. It's renowned for this incredible jasmine-like aroma, super delicate, almost tea-like body. The flavor profile is just so unique, it commands really high prices.
Amazing the variety just within the plants. But okay, getting that bean from the branch into a sack ready for shipping, that's a whole other story. Sounds like incredibly hard work.
It's a huge amount of labor, yeah. Really long process. First is cultivation. The plants themselves take, 3 to 5 years just to start producing fruit?
Wow, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, they usually start in nurseries, then get transplanted. And like we said, Arabica needs the right altitude, maybe some shade. Robusta can handle more sun, lower down.
Then comes the waiting game for the cherries to ripen.
Right. And they don't all ripen at the same time on the branch. It happens over 6 to 11 months. So harvesting is tricky.
Which leads to different harvesting methods. Handpicking must be meticulous.
It is. Very common in places like Colombia, Ethiopia, Central America, where quality is paramount or the terrain is steep. Pickers go through the trees multiple times, selecting only the perfectly ripe red cherries. It's slow, labor-intensive, but gives the best quality.
Versus machines.
Yeah, mechanized harvesting, often used on large, flat estates like in Brazil. Machines strip the branches faster, cheaper, but you get a mix of ripe, unripe, overripe cherries, leaves, twigs. Requires a lot more sorting afterwards.
Okay, so cherries are picked. Now you need to get the bean out from inside the fruit. That's processing, right? And the method matters a lot for taste.
Hugely. There are 3 main ways: wet, dry, and honey.
Let's start with wet or washed.
Okay, so with the washed method, the skin and pulp of the cherry are removed pretty quickly after picking, usually with machines called pulpers. Then the beans, still covered in a sticky layer called mucilage, are fermented in water tanks for, say, 12 to 48 hours.
Fermented? Why?
The fermentation breaks down that sticky mucilage. After that, the beans are thoroughly washed clean and then dried, usually on patios or raised beds. This method tends to produce coffees with really clean flavors, bright acidity, highlighting the bean's inherent character. Think classic Colombian or Kenyan coffee.
Okay, clean and bright. What about the dry or natural method?
This is the oldest, simplest method. You basically just spread the whole intact coffee cherries out in the sun to dry, maybe on patios or raised beds again. You have to rake them regularly so they dry evenly and don't mold.
So the bean dries inside the fruit.
Exactly. The bean absorbs sugars and compounds from the drying fruit pulp. This usually results in coffees with heavier body, lower acidity, and intense fruity, sometimes fermented or winey flavors. It's traditional in parts of Ethiopia and Brazil.
Interesting. And the third one, honey, sounds sweet.
It's kind of a middle ground, a hybrid. The skin is removed, but some or all of the sticky mucilage of the honey is left on the bean while it dries.
Ah, okay.
The amount of mucilage left determines if it's called yellow, red, or black honey process, and it influences the final sweetness, body, and acidity. It sort of balances the clarity of washed with the fruitiness of natural, very popular in places like Costa Rica and El Salvador.
So after processing and drying, what happens next?
Then comes milling. The dried beans, whether they were washed, natural, or honey processed, still have a papery layer called parchment around them, or the whole dried husk if it was natural. Milling removes this layer. Sometimes they're also polished to remove another layer called silver skin.
And then sorting, getting rid of bad beans.
Yes, crucial step. Sorting happens by size, density, and often electronically by color to remove defective beans, broken ones, insect damage, discolored ones. Quality control is key.
Finally, they're ready to be shipped.
Right. The graded sorted green beans are packed into large jute or grain pro bags, typically 60 or 70 kilos, loaded into containers and shipped off around the world to roasters, often via cooperatives or exporters who consolidate beans from many small farms.
And speaking of small farms, it's important to remember who's doing most of this work, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. Around 80% of the world's coffee is grown by smallholder farmers, often families working just a few acres.
And they face some serious challenges.
Enormous challenges. They're on the front lines of climate change, unpredictable weather, droughts, floods. Pests and diseases, like the devastating coffee leaf rust, can wipe out crops. And they're often at the mercy of volatile global market prices, getting only a tiny fraction of what we pay for the final cup.
Which is why things like fair trade and sustainable certifications are so important.
Hugely important. Initiatives like organic farming, shade-grown coffee, and certifications like Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, UTZ. They aim to provide better, more stable prices for farmers, promote environmentally sound practices, and improve working conditions. It's about making the supply chain more equitable and sustainable.
That support seems vital for the future. Okay, let's zoom out again to the global market. The sheer scale is mind-blowing.
It really is. Global production for 2024 is estimated around 170 million 60-kilo bags. It's a colossal industry.
And the big producers we mentioned, Brazil way out front with about 66 million bags.
Followed by Vietnam at around 31 million, then Colombia about 12 million, Indonesia, Ethiopia around 8 million. Those are the top players by volume.
And consumption mirrors this. Arabica for specialty, robusta for mass market.
Broadly, yes. Arabica drives the quality end, cafes, single origins. Robusta is the workhorse for instant coffee. Many blends, especially in markets where price is key.
And who's drinking it all? Where's the biggest demand?
According to the International Coffee Organization, Europe is the biggest consuming region, drinking about a third of the world's coffee. North America is next at around 19%, and Asia is a rapidly growing market, now at about 22%.
And the value of this market?
It was pegged at something like $126 billion in 2023. And projections show strong growth, maybe reaching $182 billion by 2030.
What's driving that growth?
Several things. The continued rise of specialty coffee culture, the boon in ready-to-drink coffee products, cold brew, canned lattes, etc., and definitely increasing consumer interest in ethically and sustainably sourced coffee.
The U.S. is the biggest single country consumer, right?
Yeah, importing over 25 million bags a year. But markets like China and India are growing incredibly fast too, as coffee culture takes hold there.
But it's not all smooth sailing. Price volatility is a major issue.
It's a huge risk, especially for farmers. Prices can swing wildly based on weather events like that big frost in Brazil in 2021 that caused prices to spike 50%, but also geopolitics, currency exchange rates, speculation.
Yeah.
It's complex.
Which again highlights the importance of models like fair trade or direct trade trying to create more stability.
Exactly. They aim to guarantee a minimum price or pay a premium above the market price, ensuring farmers get a fairer share. Fair trade coffee made up about 10% of the market in 2024. And certifications like Rainforest Alliance signal eco-friendly practices too. Consumers are increasingly looking for those labels.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Beyond the economics and the journey, what about coffee and us? Most of us drink it for the caffeine boost, but are there actual health benefits?
Well, yes, quite a bit of research suggests that moderate coffee consumption, generally defined as around 3 to 4 cups a day, can have some real health advantages.
Like what? The focus boost is obvious.
Right, the cognitive benefit. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, which makes us feel less tired and improves alertness, concentration, reaction time. Some studies, like one from 2018, even link moderate intake over time to a lower risk of cognitive decline later in life.
Interesting. What else?
Coffee is packed with antioxidants, particularly chlorogenic acids and polyphenols. These compounds help fight oxidative stress in the body, which is linked to aging and various chronic diseases. A big review in 2017 suggested coffee consumption might lower the risk of certain cancers, notably liver and colorectal cancer.
Okay, antioxidants, that's good. Anything for metabolic health, like diabetes?
There's evidence there too. Several studies, including one from 2019, indicate that regular coffee drinkers may have a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It seems coffee might help improve insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism.
What about heart health? You hear mixed things there.
It's nuanced, but large studies, like one in 2021, associate moderate coffee consumption again, 3 to 4 cups, with about a 15% lower risk of heart disease, stroke, and death from cardiovascular causes. However, excessive intake, especially unfiltered coffee, might raise cholesterol for some, and too much caffeine can temporarily increase blood pressure. Moderation is key.
And maybe mood. Does it make us happier?
It might help. Both the caffeine and the antioxidants in coffee could play a role. A 2016 analysis suggested regular coffee drinkers had up to a 20% lower risk of depression compared to non-drinkers.
So, quite a few potential upsides, but there are caveats, right?
Oh, absolutely. Too much caffeine can definitely lead to negative side effects, anxiety, jitters, insomnia, digestive issues, heart palpitations. People metabolize caffeine differently, so tolerance varies. And specific groups, like pregnant women, people with anxiety disorders, or certain heart conditions, should definitely talk to their doctor about intake. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Right. Listen to your body. Good advice. So looking at the coffee world today, it feels like it's constantly changing, innovating.
It really is. The modern industry is super dynamic. We've already touched on the rise of specialty coffee that focus on quality, origin, brewing methods. It's about 15% of the market now and growing, with brands like Blue Bottle, Intelligentsia really pushing boundaries.
And those newer drink trends. Cold brew, nitro.
Huge. Cold brew offers lower acidity, smoother taste. Nitro adds that creamy texture. The whole ready-to-drink coffee segment is booming, seeing around 7% annual growth. It's all about convenience meeting quality.
Sustainability seems like a much bigger focus now, too.
Definitely. It's moving from a niche concern to a core priority for many companies and consumers. We're seeing more emphasis on shade-grown coffee, organic practices, water conservation and processing, even efforts towards carbon-neutral roasting operations.
And technology is playing a role.
Yeah, things like blockchain are being used or explored for traceability, allowing consumers to track beans right back to the farm, which increases transparency and accountability.
That's fascinating.
And on the farming side, there's innovation too, research into developing more climate-resilient coffee varieties, finding ways to combat pests more sustainably. Even R&D into things like lab-grown coffee, though that's still very early days.
And the culture around coffee just keeps evolving, doesn't it?
It thrives.
Yeah.
Especially in cities. Think of the third wave coffee shops in places like Melbourne, Seattle, Portland, Tokyo. They're focused on the craft, the experience, educating consumers about sourcing and brewing.
Plus, everyone seems to be a home barista now, too.
Totally. Social media has fueled that. People showing off their pour-over setups, their AeroPress techniques. Coffee has become a real lifestyle marker for many, not just a functional drink.
So when you wrap it all up, this journey is just immense. From that legendary start in Ethiopia
to this incredibly complex, globe-spanning industry and cultural phenomenon. It really does bridge continents, drive economies from tiny farms to massive corporations, spark social change, fuel creativity.
It's become a daily ritual for billions.
A shared language, almost. But the journey faces real headwinds. Climate change is a massive threat to production. Ensuring fair labor practices remains a constant struggle. Market volatility persists.
Yet there's also so much innovation and dedication pushing things forward in sustainability, in quality, in technology.
There's definitely hope and a lot of passion in the industry. So that cup you're holding, it's not just coffee. Its history, its geography, its economics, its culture, its science, all swirling together.
A reminder of how interconnected our world is, really.
Precisely. And the story isn't finished. The journey from farm to cup keeps evolving, keeps changing. There will be new flavors, new challenges, new stories to tell.
What an incredible deep dive into the world of coffee. So maybe the next time you enjoy your cup, just take a moment to appreciate that amazing, intricate global story behind it.
Well said.
And if you found this deep dive interesting, please do like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Get ready for, well, a really delightful culinary trip around the world today. We're going to be delving into the scrumptious and deeply meaningful food customs you find at various festivals.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? How food during celebrations, it's just so much more than mere sustenance. It truly acts as this powerful connector, sharing stories, history, and that essential feeling of belonging.
Absolutely. And our aim today is to really explore the vital role food plays in these cultural festivities. We're going to look at some specific examples and try to understand why these traditions are so significant. We'll see how food shapes communities, keeps heritage vibrant, and even reveals what different societies truly value. Okay, let's maybe unpack this. What's the first thing that jumps out?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is just how universal the significance of food is in these contexts. It functions almost like a cultural code, you could say, a way of conveying pretty profound meaning within a community.
That's a really interesting way to put it. When you think about it, the actual act of preparing and sharing specific foods during festivals, that naturally links generations, doesn't it? It sort of solidifies that cultural identity through these shared culinary experiences.
Indeed. And festivals, they often signify times of abundance, right? So the shared food beautifully symbolizes prosperity and gratitude. It's a chance to kind of showcase a community's bounty and, collectively express thankfulness.
And it seems there's often more to it than just, filling bellies. There often seem to be these really profound spiritual and symbolic meanings woven into the festival foods, even the ingredients themselves. Things like representing fertility or wealth or even unity come to mind.
Precisely. Yeah, think about how certain ingredients might be deeply connected to the local land or hold some kind of historical importance. And then you have the act of communal eating itself, which can represent harmony and togetherness, that sort of thing.
And we shouldn't overlook the sensory experience. I mean, the taste, the smell, the texture of these foods, it all just amplifies the emotional impact of the festivals, makes them even more memorable and meaningful for everyone involved. So, where should our global culinary tour begin?
Let's start our journey in India for Diwali, the Festival of Lights, and we can focus maybe on the dynamic celebrations in Varanasi.
Diwali, yes. A truly spectacular festival, celebrating light over darkness and often tied to the return of Lord Rama. And like we were saying, food is just so central.
Oh, without a doubt. During Diwali, sweets and snacks, they really embody sweetness in life, prosperity, the sharing of joy. And in Varanasi, you'll find some truly distinctive and significant dishes.
Like laddu. Those round sweet things, right? What's their story?
Laddu, yeah. Often made from gram flour, sugar, and ghee, they're a classic Diwali treat. Their round shape is often seen as symbolizing completeness, prosperity. And in Varanasi, there's a famous place, Kshir Sagar, that's particularly known for their motikur laddu. It's a really delicate version.
Sounds amazing. And then there's kaju kadli, those elegant diamond-shaped sweets.
Right, made from cashews and sugar. Those are often exchanged during Diwali. It's like a token of affection, of goodwill between people.
And for something savory, there's chakli.
Exactly. Those spiral-shaped snacks made from rice flour and spices, fried until they're nice and crisp. Sharing chakli among neighbors, that really emphasizes those vital community bonds,
It sounds like preparing all this food must be quite an undertaking.
It often involves the whole family, absolutely, with cherished recipes passed down through generations. And in Varanasi, the practice of offering these sweets to neighbors, to temples, that's a really significant gesture of goodwill. It reinforces those social connections.
Yeah, I've heard it said that these Diwali sweets aren't just treats. They're actually seen as offerings to deities, like Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth.
That's a crucial point, and it's also interesting to see the regional variations. While milk-based sweets are common in North India, like in Varanasi, you'll find different specialties down south, things like murukku and atirasam.
Okay, so next stop on this culinary festival tour takes us over to the United States for Thanksgiving. Let's focus on Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Right. Thanksgiving, as you know, it's a holiday deeply rooted in gratitude and communal feasting. Its origins go back to that 1621 meal shared between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people right there in Plymouth.
And today it's this huge national holiday where families gather for a big meal, giving thanks for their blessings. Plymouth, being the site of that original Thanksgiving, must have some powerful traditions.
It definitely does. The modern Thanksgiving meal, it really revolves around several key dishes. The roast turkey, often stuffed, is the undisputed centerpiece. And in Plymouth, places like the Plymouth Patuxent Museums, they try to present historically inspired turkey preparations based on, 17th century recipes.
Of course, you absolutely need cranberry sauce.
That tangy condiment made from native cranberries, it symbolizes the harvest and gives a nice sharpness against the richness of the turkey.
And for dessert, it has to be pumpkin pie.
Exactly. A spiced dessert with pumpkin. It's a clear nod to the fall harvest and just a really beloved Thanksgiving tradition.
So the emphasis here is clearly on abundance and gratitude, with the meal itself acting as a symbol of unity.
Absolutely. It's been described as this ritual where family members, sometimes leading very different lives, come together to kind of affirm their connections through sharing food. And in Plymouth, that historical side is very much alive. You've got events like the America's Hometown Thanksgiving Parade showcasing local culinary heritage, too.
It's interesting how immigrant communities have also added their own flavors to the Thanksgiving table over the years.
Totally. You might find tamales or fried rice or even baklava alongside the turkey and stuffing now. It really shows how these culinary traditions can adapt and evolve. Okay, so our next stop is China for the Lunar New Year, and let's focus on Beijing.
The Lunar New Year. Wow, such a huge celebration, marking the start of the new lunar year. It's all about family reunions, honoring ancestors, welcoming prosperity, and again, food seems to be right at the heart of it.
It really is. The dishes served are often chosen very carefully for their symbolic meanings, their auspicious qualities, and Beijing, being the capital, is just this vibrant hub for all the festivities.
Let's talk about those iconic dumplings, jiaozi.
Ah, yes, jiaozi. These crescent-shaped dumplings, usually filled with things like pork, shrimp, or vegetables, they symbolize wealth because they look a bit like ancient Chinese gold ingots. In Beijing, it's a really cherished tradition for the whole family to gather on New Year's Eve to make them and eat them together. It's believed to bring good fortune. It's fascinating, isn't it? How something as simple as the shape of a dumpling can carry such deep cultural meaning, reminding families of their shared history and hopes for prosperity year after year.
And mian gao, the sticky rice cake. What's the symbolism there?
Yes, nian gao. Its name literally means year cake, and it symbolizes growth and prosperity, like reaching new heights each year. You'll see street vendors all over Beijing's hutongs selling it fried or steamed, often with a sweet red bean filling. It's delicious.
And I gather fish is also a really essential part of the celebration.
That's right. A whole steamed fish called yu is served to symbolize abundance. Mainly because the Chinese word for fish, yu, sounds very similar to the word for surplus or plenty. You can find some incredibly elaborate fish dishes in restaurants like Haidilao in Beijing during this time.
It sounds like every single step, from the prep to actually eating it, is just loaded with symbolism.
Pretty much. The collective effort of making dumplings, that strengthens family unity. Eating yin gao is seen as a way to ensure progress in the coming year. Food scholars have pointed out that foods are often chosen specifically because their names sound like words associated with luck and prosperity. It's all about those phonetic links.
And the Temple Fair at Deeden Park in Beijing sounds like an amazing place to just dive into the food culture.
Oh, it is. You'll find all sorts of traditional snacks there, like tengkulu, those amazing candied hawthorn skewers, and baozi, the steamed buns. They really add to that lively, festive atmosphere. Okay, our next culinary destination takes us to the Muslim world for Eid al-Fitr, and we'll focus on Cairo, Egypt. So, moving from the, vibrant sweetness of Diwali, let's head to a festival that marks the end of a really significant period of reflection and renewal.
Eid al-Fitr, right? The festival of breaking the fast, marking the end of Ramadan. Gosh, after a whole month of daytime fasting, food must take on a particularly special significance.
It absolutely does. It's a time of huge gratitude, forgiveness, and of course, communal feasting. In Cairo, the street markets just come alive and families gather to share meals together.
What are some of the key foods you'd find in Cairo during Eid?
Well, kak are absolutely essential. These are buttery cookies, often dusted with powdered sugar, sometimes filled with dates or nuts. They are so synonymous with Eid in Egypt that bakeries, like the famous El Abd, get incredibly busy just churning them out.
They sound lovely. What else is typically enjoyed?
Fateh is a really hearty staple. It's a layered dish. You've got Flatbread, rice, meat, all topped with this fragrant, garlicky yogurt sauce. It's very substantial. And for a sweet treat, there's kutayef, which are these delicate little stuffed pancakes soaked in syrup. Also very popular.
It sounds like a proper feast. Is there also a community aspect to the food preparation, like the dumplings for Lunar New Year?
Definitely. Families and neighbors often work together to bake the kak and prepare other big dishes. It's been noted that these Eid feasts symbolize a kind of return to balance after the austerity of Ramadan, both physically and spiritually. And sharing food with those less fortunate is a really central part of the tradition, too.
And I imagine bustling markets like Khan El Khalili are just central to all the Eid preparations, getting ingredients and treats.
They are, yes. You'll find vendors selling all the necessary ingredients, plus beautifully prepared sweets. There's a real buzz, a sense of anticipation in the air. All right, our final stop on this global food festival tour is Germany for Oktoberfest, and we're heading to Munich.
Oktoberfest, the world's biggest beer festival. But it's not just about the beer, is it? Food clearly plays a massive role, too.
Absolutely. While the beer is, obviously a huge draw, the hearty Bavarian cuisine is just as integral to celebrating Bavarian culture. It all started back in 1810, actually, as a royal wedding celebration, and it's just grown into this massive global event held every year in Munich.
And where does all this festive eating and drinking happen?
It takes place on the Theresienwiese Fairgrounds in Munich, inside these enormous traditional beer tents. And you'll find some classic Bavarian dishes there.
Like those massive pretzels, the Briesen.
Exactly. Big, soft pretzels with that signature chewy inside and crisp, salty crust. They are the quintessential Oktoberfest snack, perfect with a stein of beer.
And what about Weisswurst? Tell us about that.
Weisswurst. It's a mild white sausage made from veal and pork. Traditionally, you eat with sweet mustard and naturally a Briesen, usually before noon, actually.
And I've definitely heard about the roasted chicken, Hendel.
Yes, wonderfully crispy skin, really juicy inside. It's a real staple in the Oktoberfest tents, often served simply with maybe some potato salad or sauerkraut.
It sounds like the food really reflects Bavaria's agricultural roots and a sort of generous approach to eating.
It really does. The culinary traditions emphasize abundance, conviviality. You get these big portions meant for sharing around the table, whether you're with old friends or people you just met. Famous tents like Schottenhamel or Hackerpschor are particularly known for their food, creating that lively communal atmosphere.
And the food is also specifically designed to go well with all that famous Oktoberfest beer, right?
Spot on. The hearty, often slightly salty dishes, they pair perfectly with the malty flavors of the festival beers. It really enhances that whole feeling of Gemütlichkeit, that camaraderie.
It's really remarkable to see how, even though these festivals come from such different parts of the world, there are some genuinely universal themes when it comes to the food.
Indeed. Think about the sharing of sweets, like in Diwali and Eid, that's strong emphasis on generosity, community. Or the big communal feasts of Thanksgiving and Lunar New Year, highlighting the importance of family and gratitude.
And these food traditions, they aren't just stuck in their places of origin anymore, are they?
Not at all. Cultural exchange, especially through diaspora communities, means these culinary traditions are adapting in new places all over the globe. You might see really creative fusion Diwali dishes now, or Lunar New Year feasts using local ingredients in, say, London or New York.
And the festivals themselves become a chance for people to experience new cuisines directly.
Absolutely. Tourists flock to Oktoberfest or to Diwali celebrations in places like Varanasi, partly to try the authentic local dishes, and that in turn helps spread these culinary traditions even further.
Beyond just the cultural side of things, these festival foods must have a pretty big social and economic impact too.
Oh, they certainly do. Socially, the act of preparing and sharing food, it strengthens community bonds, like we've said. It's a time for collective cooking, passing down recipes, preserving that culinary heritage.
And economically speaking,
well, festivals create huge demand for specific ingredients and dishes. That boosts local economy significantly. Think about all the kak production in Cairo during Eid, or the massive revenue from food and drink at Oktoberfest in Munich.
but there can be challenges that come with this commercialization, I suppose.
Yes, that's true. Mass production can sometimes lead to maybe a dilution of the really traditional recipes, and rising ingredient costs can make it harder for some people to fully participate in these culinary traditions. We've even seen that with things like ghee and nut prices impacting how Diwali sweets are made in India sometimes.
It's really interesting to think about how these traditions are adapting to the modern world.
It is. There's definitely a concern sometimes about losing traditional knowledge, as younger generations might opt for convenience. But then you also see really positive initiatives trying to preserve these skills, like dumpling making workshops in Beijing, for example.
And what about changing dietary preferences? Things like vegetarianism, veganism.
Yeah.
Are we seeing festival foods adapt?
We are, absolutely. You're seeing vegan Diwali sweets becoming more available. Plant-based alternatives showing up at Thanksgiving are getting pretty popular, too. It shows these traditions can be flexible.
Technology must be playing a part in these shifts as well.
For sure. Online platforms make it easy to share recipes across the globe. And food delivery services, well, they're even bringing festive dishes right to people's doorsteps. Think about Eid-Kak delivery apps popping up in Cairo.
And what about sustainability? That seems to be a growing concern everywhere.
It's becoming increasingly important, yes. Festivals often involve huge amounts of food, so there's more focus now on eco-friendly practices, things like using locally sourced ingredients where possible, reducing food waste, maybe using biodegradable plates like they do at Oktoberfest now. It's definitely part of the conversation.
Wow. So from the incredible sweet treats of Diwali to the really hearty and comforting food of Oktoberfest, it's just so clear that the foods we find at festivals are so much more than just fuel. They are truly vibrant expressions of culture, of history, and that enduring spirit of community.
We've definitely seen how these rich culinary traditions connect us to the past, how they strengthen our bonds with each other right now, and how they even evolve in really fascinating ways as the world keeps changing.
Makes you think, doesn't it? About the festivals you've experienced yourself. What specific foods really stick in your memory? What do those foods tell you about the celebration, about the people sharing it?
We really hope you continue exploring the amazing, diverse world of festival foods and all the captivating stories they hold. There's so much more out there.
And if you enjoy this deep dive into global food traditions, please do like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more engaging content like this. Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab.
Great to be diving into this.
Get ready, because we're about to sink our teeth into a truly intriguing culinary story, the evolution of fusion cuisine.
It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, and forget the idea that this is just some trendy restaurant gimmick.
Oh, definitely not.
We're tracing a narrative that stretches back centuries, a flavorful illustration of how different cultures have encountered each other and quite literally cooked up something new.
That's quite right. What makes this topic so compelling is realizing that culinary fusion isn't a recent invention at all.
Right.
We're exploring a gastronomic journey that began, way back in antiquity and continues to shape the exciting food scenes we see around the globe today.
So we'll be looking at how simple exchanges, things like ingredients and techniques, had these huge impacts.
Exactly. Profound and lasting influences.
Okay, let's really dig in here then. When we talk about evolution, it's not an exaggeration, is it?
Not at all.
Fusion's origins are actually deeply woven into the fabric of ancient trade networks, the Silk Road being a prime example.
Think about it. Sought-after spices like cinnamon and saffron, they weren't native to every place they reached.
Right. So their travels also meant the spread of knowledge about how to, use them.
Indeed. And if we consider the broader implications, those initial exchanges were transformative.
How so? Give us an example.
Well, take, for instance, the integration of Middle Eastern spices into, say, Chinese cooking.
Okay.
Or the convergence of Indian and Persian culinary practices that eventually led to the creation of a dish like biryani.
Ah, right, biryani.
These represent early instances of distinct food cultures interacting and genuinely generating something entirely novel.
Then, if we fast forward a bit, the age of exploration.
Oh, a massive shift.
And the Columbian Exchange. That brought about a huge worldwide redistribution of ingredients, didn't it?
Huge is an understatement. This wasn't just about introducing new tastes. It fundamentally altered the diets of people across the planet.
What's truly remarkable is the sheer scale of that upheaval, I suppose.
It really is. Reflect on the impact of ingredients like tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and crucially, chiles.
Chiles, right, from the Americas.
Exactly. Originating in the Americas, these traveled to distant continents and became indispensable components of cuisines that now seem unimaginable without them.
It's almost hard to believe that an ingredient as fundamental as the chili pepper to Indian or, say, Thai cooking was once completely unknown there.
Completely unknown. And conversely, items like citrus fruits from Asia left their mark on European gastronomy.
It certainly makes you reconsider what we consider traditional, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And then adding another layer, colonialism and extensive migration patterns further stirred the pot, so to speak.
They definitely did. Introduced even more diverse ingredients and cooking methods.
This brings up an important point about how, well, power dynamics and the movement of populations influence what we eat.
That's a crucial element. Consider Creole and Cajun cuisines in Louisiana. You've got African, European, and indigenous culinary traditions melding together there.
Or Malaysian laksa.
Yes, a superb example of Chinese noodle making meeting Malay spices. These aren't isolated occurrences. They illustrate that fusion is, well, a continuous process of adaptation.
An ongoing culinary dialogue.
Precisely.
So this blending of culinary traditions has been happening for a long time, but the specific term fusion cuisine, it's more recent, right?
That's correct. It feels like it really gained traction in the latter part of the 20th century.
Particularly in places like the United States and Australia, maybe.
Exactly. The late 1900s saw chefs consciously begin to experiment with these combinations. Wolfgang Puck is often cited as a significant figure.
The smoked salmon pizza.
That's the one, a terrific example of, Italian techniques meeting Pacific Northwest flavors.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
No, it's also important to remember that this period had its missteps, a sort of confusion era, as some called it.
Right, where novelty sometimes overshadowed, well, actual deliciousness.
You could say that. Sometimes things just didn't quite work together.
All right, so we've established that fusion has historical depth and really came into its own in recent decades. Now, where are some of the key global centers for this culinary mixing today?
Good question.
It seems like certain cities naturally foster fusion.
You've hit on a crucial point. Fusion truly flourishes in multicultural hubs where different cultures and global influences converge. Los Angeles stands out.
LA, okay. Why there?
As a melting pot, its culinary scene reflects this in dishes such as Korean tacos.
Kogi BBQ. Legendary.
Exactly. Gained immense popularity thanks to them. It's a brilliant marriage of Mexican, Korean, and even subtle hints of other culinary traditions.
And what about across the Atlantic? I always think of London as this incredible mosaic of cultures.
It certainly is.
I imagine that's reflected in its food as well.
Undeniably, London's diverse immigrant communities have profoundly impacted its gastronomic landscape. You'll encounter fantastic examples like Indian-inspired fish and chips.
Early fish and chips.
Yeah. Or jerk chicken pizza, unexpected yet delightful pairings. And their street food scene is just vibrant with precisely these kinds of inventive fusions.
Now, turning our attention eastward, Singapore always strikes me as a place where different worlds have been interacting for centuries. Is it a significant player?
Absolutely. Singapore's history as a vital trading port positions it as a natural intersection of cultures.
So it's baked into their history.
Pretty much. Peranakan cuisine, also known as Nyonya cuisine, is a classic, long-established example of fusion.
Nyonya laksa, for example.
Perfect example. Beautifully combining Chinese and Malay elements. It's not a recent trend there. It's deeply embedded in their culinary identity.
Moving south to Australia, Sydney has this energetic, outdoor-oriented culture. Feels like their food scene is also highly innovative, often incorporating Asian influences.
Indeed. Sydney has wholeheartedly embraced its proximity to Asia and its multicultural populace. You'll find dishes such as Thai-inspired barramundi.
Sounds good.
Or even a Japanese-influenced pavlova, taking familiar dishes and giving them a surprising international twist.
Wow, pavlova. And we certainly can't overlook India itself. Mumbai in particular has this incredible dynamism. Their street food is legendary.
It really is.
But how does fusion fit into a cuisine that's already so rich and varied?
That's a vital consideration. India's own culinary history is a story of fusion, if you think about it.
How so?
Well, consider the Mughal, Persian, and even British influences on dishes like biryani and pav bhaji.
Right. Good point.
And that spirit of innovation persists in Mumbai's street food. You'll discover things like fusion chat or Indo-Chinese dishes.
Indo-Chinese is huge there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Blending local spices with global flavors in exciting new ways.
It's remarkable to see the diverse ways fusion manifests itself. Speaking of which, are there distinct categories or, approaches to fusion cuisine that chefs commonly employ?
Yes, definitely. It's not just one homogeneous blend. We can sort of categorize it into several key approaches. One is ingredient-based fusion. That's where you essentially combine ingredients from different culinary traditions within a single dish.
like the sushi burritos or Korean tacos we mentioned.
Exactly. Recognizable components from different cuisines coming together to create something new.
That makes sense. What's another way chefs approach fusion?
Another is technique-based fusion. This involves adopting cooking methods from one tradition and applying them to ingredients or flavors from another.
Okay, like how?
Consider, maybe, a Thai-inspired risotto.
Ooh.
You're utilizing Italian risotto techniques, but infusing it with Thai herbs and coconut milk, for example.
Oh, that sounds quite interesting. What about presentation? Does that factor in?
Absolutely. Presentation-based fusion focuses on blending serving styles.
So, how it looks on the plate?
Or even the vessel. For example, you might have a traditional Indian curry served in a Japanese bento box. It's about the visual aspect and the overall dining experience.
And then there are those fusions that really tell a story of cultural exchange, the ones with deeper historical roots.
Right. We refer to that as cultural fusion. Creole cuisine serves as a perfect example.
From Louisiana, yes.
Arising from the interaction of African, French, and Spanish culinary practices. Indo-Chinese cuisine, prevalent in India, is another instance.
Combining Indian spices with Chinese stir-frying methods.
Precisely.
And we can't forget the cutting edge, the really experimental side of things.
Correct. Modernist fusion, often associated with molecular gastronomy.
Right, foams and gels and things.
Exactly. Employing scientific techniques to reimagine dishes. Deconstructing a classic Vietnamese pho into, say, a foam or a gel, while retaining those core flavors would be an illustration of that.
It sounds like successful fusion really hinges on achieving that balance, doesn't it?
It does.
Showing respect for the original cuisines while still crafting something harmonious and delicious.
Absolutely. It's not simply about throwing ingredients together. It demands understanding and thoughtful combination. You have to know the rules before you break them, so to speak.
Now, let's consider the source of all these wonderful ingredients. How has fusion cuisine influenced agriculture and farming practices around the world?
This is a fascinating connection, actually. Fusion cuisine, by its very nature, necessitates a wide array of ingredients.
Of course.
And this has significant agricultural ramifications. We've observed a notable increase in global ingredient sourcing to meet this demand.
Like what, for instance?
Well, consider the substantial growth in avocado exports from Mexico, or the expansion of quinoa production in Peru. These aren't just trendy foods, they're vital for numerous fusion dishes. Data shows avocado exports were worth billions, and quinoa production saw major annual growth.
So international trade is crucial. But what about closer to home? Are we seeing any local agricultural shifts driven by fusion?
Certainly. The growth of urban farming in cities is partly fueled by the demand for specialty crops used in fusion restaurants.
So growing specific things locally.
Exactly. You might see urban farms cultivating Thai basil or specific types of chilies in Western cities, enabling chefs to utilize fresh, local ingredients while still creating authentic global flavors.
That local-global interplay is truly intriguing, and I've noticed many fusion dishes incorporate plant-based options. Is sustainability also a factor here?
It most definitely is. The increasing interest in plant-based diets aligns well with many fusion cuisines.
How so?
This has led to a greater demand for ingredients like jackfruit in Southeast Asia, for example.
Used as a meat alternative.
Right. In a variety of fusion dishes, like pulled pork sandwiches or tacos, sustainable agriculture and fusion cuisine are becoming increasingly interconnected. Jackfruit production has surged quite a bit recently.
And it's not just about existing crops, is it? I've heard about new hybrid fruits and vegetables. Do they play a role?
They do indeed. Agricultural innovation, like the development of hybrid crops, think pluots, which are plum apricot hybrids, or colettes, a kale Brussels sprout cross. These provide chefs with novel and interesting ingredients to experiment with, adding unique flavors and textures to their fusion creations.
And of course, we can't discuss global flavors without mentioning spices. Where do they fit into this agricultural picture?
Spices are absolutely central. Countries such as India, Vietnam, Morocco, they're major players in global spice production.
India especially, right?
India dominates global spice exports. Yeah, something like 70%. These spices form the foundation of so many fusion dishes, from Indian Mexican tacos you might find, to Moroccan-inspired sushi. Agriculture truly underpins the entire fusion movement.
It's astonishing to see how interconnected everything is. Now, to get a sense of the broader scale, what's the global reach of fusion cuisine within the overall food landscape? Is it possible to quantify its influence?
Obtaining a precise figure is challenging, as you can imagine, because fusion has become so integrated it's not always labeled explicitly. But by most estimates, it represents a significant portion of new restaurant concepts in urban centers worldwide, maybe somewhere in the vicinity of 15 to 20%.
That's quite substantial.
It is. And considering the vast overall food service market, fusion cuisine's contribution is certainly significant.
Can you provide a sense of that in different regions? Where is it particularly prominent?
Sure. North America, especially the US and Canada, are significant players. Maybe around a quarter of new restaurants in major cities incorporate fusion elements in some way.
Think of cities like Los Angeles and Toronto with things like ramen burgers or poutine burritos.
Exactly, those kinds of things. The Asia-Pacific region is also a powerhouse. Singapore has a notably high percentage of restaurants that could be called fusion.
And Australia.
Australia, particularly Sydney and Melbourne, also boasts a very strong fusion dining scene, maybe around 20% of the market there. Japan, too, has its own unique takes.
And Europe.
London and Paris are probably at the forefront. Perhaps around 15% of new openings feature some kind of fusion, like Indian-inspired croissants or Mediterranean Asian tapas.
Wow, even in emerging markets.
Yes, we're witnessing considerable growth in fusion cuisine in places like India, think Mumbai and Delhi, with Indo-Chinese and Indo-Italian growing maybe 10% annually, and Brazil too.
It sounds like globalization and just the ease of accessing international ingredients and recipes online have really propelled this global expansion.
Absolutely. The digital age has made it easier than ever for chefs and home cooks alike to explore flavors from around the world. Instagram, TikTok, they spread ideas instantly.
So clearly, fusion cuisine is a significant phenomenon. What are some of the key advantages it offers beyond just, exciting our palates?
Oh, there are numerous benefits. Culturally, fusion cuisine can encourage understanding and appreciation between different cultures.
How so?
Well, dishes like banh mi, for example, really tell a story of cultural exchange. French baguettes meet Vietnamese fillings. It gets people curious.
And for chefs?
From a culinary standpoint, it fuels innovation and creativity, inspiring chefs to think beyond traditional boundaries, pushing things forward.
Economically, too.
Yes, it generates opportunities for entrepreneurs, particularly in the food truck and pop-up restaurant sector, where entry barriers might be lower.
That makes sense. Lower barriers to entry for novel ideas. Are there other wider benefits?
Yes, it can also align with healthier and more sustainable eating habits.
We touched on that with plant-based options.
Right, the rise of plant-based fusion options like quinoa chickpea bowls or jackfruit bay. And let's not forget the appeal to consumers. People generally enjoy trying new things. That desire for novelty or neophilia, fusion cuisine satisfies that.
And it's easier for us at home, too.
Definitely. The availability of global ingredients now makes it simpler for home cooks to participate in the fusion trend themselves.
It sounds like a beneficial development on many levels. But considering its increasing popularity and economic impact, what is the actual market size of fusion cuisine, even a rough estimate?
Again, isolating it completely is difficult. But if we look at the global food service market, which is, enormous, around $3.5 trillion.
Wow.
Fusion cuisine likely contributes a significant chunk within that, maybe $500 to $700 billion globally. It's a rough estimate, but it gives you an idea.
And that's spread across different sectors.
Yes. The restaurant sector is huge, obviously maybe 20% of the US market, hundreds of billions in Asia Pacific. Then there's the ingredient market itself.
The things needed to make fusion dishes.
Exactly. The global specialty ingredient market, things like gochujang, harissa, quinoa, is worth perhaps $150 billion and growing steadily, maybe 7% a year.
On consumer trends, meal kits.
Yes, meal kits and delivery platforms, a market worth maybe $20 billion globally, frequently feature fusion options, Blue Apron, HelloFresh, and others.
Plus street food.
And the booming street food market, maybe $100 billion globally, is a major driver for fusion innovation.
So despite all its positives, have there been any challenges or criticisms directed at fusion cuisine over the years?
Indeed. It hasn't all been universally praised. We touched on the confusion era in the 90s.
Right, the skepticism.
Where some combinations simply didn't work well, leading to skepticism about its legitimacy. There are also valid concerns about cultural appropriation.
Ah, that's a big one.
Yes, the importance of respecting the origins of ingredients and techniques, and not merely diluting traditions or borrowing superficially for the sake of novelty.
So it requires real understanding.
A thorough understanding of the source cuisines is paramount for successful, respectful fusion. And in less diverse markets, consumer reluctance to try unfamiliar things, neophobia can also be an obstacle.
Any other issues?
Well, the reliance on globally sourced ingredients does raise questions about sustainability and food miles, which is something the industry is increasingly grappling with.
Those are important considerations. Looking ahead, what do you foresee as the major trends shaping the future of fusion cuisine?
Well, technology is poised to play an increasingly significant role.
Well,
Advancements like 3D food printing and further developments in molecular gastronomy could open up entirely new avenues for blending textures and flavors.
interesting. And sustainability.
Sustainability will also be a major driving force, I think. Encouraging innovation in areas such as plant-based alternatives, maybe algae-based sushi or lab-grown meat tacos become more common, plus a focus on locally sourced ingredients even within fusion concepts.
What about online influence?
The influence of social media in amplifying food trends is undeniable. We'll likely see more viral fusion dishes emerging on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, think ramen carbonara, or similar unexpected hits.
And the cultural sensitivity aspect.
Hopefully, yes. There seems to be a growing emphasis on cultural sensitivity and collaboration in creating respectful and authentic fusion, telling the stories behind the dishes properly.
It sounds like the evolution of fusion cuisine is far from over then.
Not at all.
It's a dynamic and constantly evolving reflection of our interconnected world.
Precisely. From those ancient trade routes swapping spices to the cutting-edge kitchens using, liquid nitrogen today.
Oh, right.
The desire to blend flavors and traditions has continually reshaped our culinary landscape.
It truly presents some exciting opportunities for innovation, for thinking more sustainably about what we consume, and maybe most importantly, for gaining a deeper appreciation for the diverse cultures that make up our world.
Absolutely. It encourages us to explore and celebrate that diversity through the universal language of food. There's always something new to discover.
Well, we trust this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and perhaps even given you some inspiration for your next culinary adventure.
Hope so.
If you enjoyed learning about the evolution of fusion cuisine, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more fascinating explorations. Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today we're diving into, a truly delicious adventure. The vibrant world of Southeast Asian street food.
It really is incredible. Imagine these bustling open-air markets. Maybe you hear the sizzle of woks and these aromas that just transport you somewhere else entirely.
Exactly.
And we're going to explore why street food in this region is, it's so much more than just a meal. It's really a cultural cornerstone. It's accessible to everyone, and it showcases incredible culinary talent, often passed down through generations.
Yeah, absolutely. So our journey today, it's going to take us through Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines.
Yeah.
We'll uncover some iconic dishes, maybe touch on their histories, and really get a feel for that electric atmosphere where you enjoy them.
Get ready for a real sensory exploration full of flavors and stories.
Okay, where should we start this feast?
Let's begin in Thailand. It's often called the land of spicy smiles, and for good reason. Thai street food is globally renowned for its bold balance. You've got sweet, sour, salty, and of course that spicy kick.
And Bangkok's Yaowarat, Chinatown. That's a key spot, right? Especially at night.
Oh, definitely. It completely transforms after dark. It becomes this just a food paradise.
So what's a must-try there?
Well, you absolutely have to try kui jab. It's this peppery noodle soup. It's got crispy pork bellies, sometimes intestines if you're adventurous, and these unique rolled rice noodles.
Rolled beetles. Interesting.
Yeah, they have a lovely texture. And the broth, it's infused with star anise and black pepper. Really comforting, but invigorating too.
Okay.
And vendors, like Kui Jab Nai Huan is a famous one, they often give you chili vinegar on the side, so you can customize the heat.
Ah, good tip. What else is shining bright in Yaowarat?
You should definitely look for hoi tod. It's a crispy oyster pancake.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's fried, usually until it's golden brown, often in a big cast iron pan, and served with this tangy dipping sauce. The texture contrast is amazing. Crispy outside, soft oysters inside.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And for dessert, Thailand always delivers on sweets.
It certainly does. Mango sticky rice is, it's essential, isn't it?
It really is.
You've got that glutinous rice, steamed in rich coconut milk, paired with perfectly ripe sweet mangoes. Quick tip: look for the stalls with the longest queues. It usually means they have the best mangoes that day and really know what they're doing.
Good advice. Okay, let's head north now, maybe to Chiang Mai. I hear the vibe is a bit different.
That's right. Chiang Mai has a more relaxed pace and some very distinct culinary specialties. The night markets there are treasure troves.
So what's the star dish in Chiang Mai?
You absolutely must try kawa soy. It's this creamy coconut curry noodle soup. It's usually topped with crispy fried egg noodles, which adds a great crunch, and served with pickled mustard greens and a wedge of lime.
Oh, that sounds complex and delicious.
It is. It's a beautiful harmony of richness and freshness. Places like Kawa Soy Kun Yai are really popular for super flavorful bowls. The balance is just perfect.
Okay, khao soy. Got it. Any other northern gems?
Another one to look out for is soa. It's a spicy pork sausage, really packed with aromatics, lemongrass, galangal, kaffir lime leaves.
Sounds fragrant.
Very. It's often grilled over charcoal, which gives it this lovely smoky flavor, and usually served with sticky rice and maybe nem prik noom, a green chili dip.
A bit fiery.
Can be, yeah. And for the adventurous eaters, try larb kua. It's a minced meat salad, often pork or chicken, with roasted rice powder and lots of fresh herbs.
Roasted rice powder.
Yeah, it gives it this nutty taste and a really interesting texture. It's a bold flavor combination for sure.
Great. Before we leave Thailand, any quick final tips for navigating the street food scene?
Okay, yeah. Look for crowds, always a good sign. Understand the spice level, say my pet if you don't want it too spicy.
Pedo.
Carry cash, Thai baht, preferably smaller notes, and most importantly, just be open to trying new things. That's half the fun.
Excellent. Let's travel now, maybe eastward to Vietnam. I always think of freshness when I think of Vietnamese food.
That's a perfect description. Vietnamese street food really emphasizes fresh herbs, those balanced flavors, and often communal dining. Lots of light, aromatic ingredients.
And Hanoi, the capital, that's the place for pho.
It really is the soul of pho. That fragrant rice noodle soup is practically a national treasure. You'll find stalls like Phu Gan Guit in the Old Quarter, simmering beef or chicken bones for hours to get that clear, aromatic broth.
That broth is key.
Absolutely. Served with flat rice noodles, tons of fresh herbs, lime. It's breakfast. It's late night comfort food. And you can customize it, Add chili, fish sauce, hoisin, make it your own.
Beyond pho, what else should we seek out in Hanoi?
You have got to try bun cha, grilled pork patties.
Ah, the Obama Bourdain dish.
That's the one. Served with rice noodles, more herbs, and that tangy fish sauce dip. It's just this fantastic balance of smoky, sweet, and sour.
Sounds amazing. Any quick snacks?
Yes, ban kun. These delicate steamed rice flour crepes filled with minced pork and woodier mushrooms and topped with crispy fried shallots. Delicious.
Okay, let's head south. Ho Chi Minh City. A different energy, I gather.
Definitely. More fast-paced, really diverse, reflecting its cosmopolitan vibe, and it's often called the banh mi capital.
The famous baguette sandwich?
The icon. Stalls like Banh Mi Hung Ho, they just stuff these crusty baguettes with pickled carrots, cucumber, cilantro, and your choice of meat or tofu. It's such a great example of that French-Vietnamese fusion.
Absolutely. What if you want something a bit heartier?
Then you look for kum tom, broken rice plates.
Broken rice.
Yeah, traditionally it was cheaper, imperfect grains. Now it's sought after for its texture, usually served with a grilled pork chop, fried egg, pickled veggies. You'll find great versions near markets like Chip Ben Than, often kicked up a notch with fish sauce and chili.
And dessert.
Che. It's a sweet soup, usually with coconut milk, different beans, tapioca pearls. Really refreshing and so many variations.
Sounds good. Any tips specifically for Vietnam street food?
Yeah, follow the locals. If a stall is packed with Vietnamese people, it's probably good.
Makes sense.
Learn a few basic phrases. Come on for thank you, man on for delicious. It goes a long way.
Okay.
Embrace the little plastic stools. It's part of the experience. And always check the freshness of the herbs and veggies that's key in Vietnam.
Great advice. Right, let's move on to Malaysia, known for being a real melting pot of flavors.
Absolutely. Malaysian street food is a fantastic reflection of its diverse culture. Malay, Chinese, Indian, indigenous influences all mixing together. You see it everywhere, from Penang's hawker centers to KL's Jalan Alor, a dazzling array of dishes.
Let's start with Penang, the so-called street food capital. What are the must-tries?
Penang has some legendary spots. A classic you have to try is char kway teow.
Oh, the stir-fried noodles.
Exactly. Flat rice noodles, prawns, cockles, bean sprouts, all stir-fried over super high heat in a wok, seasoned with soy sauce, a bit of chili. It gets this incredible smoky flavor, that woke.
Okay.
Yeah, the breath of the wok. It's crucial. Places like Siam Road, char kway teow are famous for it. Even if there's a long wait, it's worth it.
I bet. What other Penang favorites?
Another big one is Assam laksa. It's quite different, a tangy fish-based noodle soup.
Tangy, okay.
Yeah, it gets its sourness from tamarind, balanced with mackerel, pineapple, mint, cucumber. It's this amazing sour, spicy contrast.
Sounds refreshing, actually, and for a sweet treat.
Sendol, you can't miss it. Shaved ice, creamy coconut milk, rich palm sugar, gula melaka, and those little green rice flour jelly noodles.
Ah, yes, the green jelly.
Perfect on a hot Penang day.
Okay, let's hop over to Kuala Lumpur, KL. A different kind of diversity there.
That's right. Jalan Alor is the famous street food street in KL, buzzing at night. You'll find fantastic satay-skewered grilled meats, chicken, beef, lamb served with that addictive creamy peanut sauce.
Classic.
And maybe grilled stingray. Some places, like Wong Awa, are known for it, often coated in sambal and grilled in banana leaves.
Wow, stingray. And Chinese influences.
Definitely. Look for Hokkien mee thick noodles stir-fried in dark soy sauce with pork and, crucially, crispy pork lard. Adds amazing flavor and crunch.
Sounds decadent. Indian influences, too.
Oh, yes. Roti canai is everywhere. That flaky flatbread, perfect for dipping in curry or dal. You can find great spots in areas like brickfields. Maybe grab a teh tarik, that frothy pulled tea alongside it, like mansion tea stall.
And the national dish, can't forget that.
Nasi lemak. Fragrant coconut rice, spicy sambal, crispy anchovies, ikan bilis, peanuts, cucumber, maybe a boiled egg, often wrapped in a banana leaf. Simple, but so satisfying.
Any quick tips for navigating Malaysian street food?
Hawker centers are your friend, lots of choice, usually clean and organized. Be aware of halal requirements. Many stalls are Muslim-run.
Good point.
Carry tissues. Napkins aren't always standard. And definitely try some Nyonya food if you can, that unique Straits Chinese-Malay fusion, like Nyonya laksa.
Brilliant. Let's journey now to Indonesia, that vast archipelago known for bold, spicy food.
Absolutely. Indonesia's street food is as diverse as its islands. Bold, often spicy, deeply satisfying. From Jakarta's warongs to Bali's night markets.
Tell us about Jakarta first. What's a warung?
A warung is basically a small, often family-run eatery or stall. They are the heart and soul of Indonesian street food.
And the most famous dish, nasi goreng.
Has to be. Indonesian fried rice. Usually made with kicap manis, that sweet soy sauce chili, shrimp paste, maybe chicken or prawns, often topped with a fried egg. There are regional variations too, like nasi goreng kambing lamb fried rice, which you can find at places like nasi goreng kambing Kebon Siri. Really aromatic.
Sounds incredible. What else should we look for in Jakarta?
Another staple is soto ayam. It's a yellow turmeric-based chicken soup, often with noodles, cabbage, boiled eggs. Comforting and flavorful. In Glodok, Jakarta's Chinatown, you might find versions with Chinese touches, like soy-marinated eggs.
And for a snack?
Martabak. There's savory martabak teller, egg-based, but also martabak manis, the sweet version. It's like a thick, fluffy pancake, folded over fillings like chocolate sprinkles, cheese, peanuts, condensed milk. Very indulgent.
Cheese and chocolate. Interesting combo.
Surprisingly good. Now let's fly over to Bali. Different vibe, different flavors, definitely. Bali's food reflects its Hindu heritage and lush landscape. The absolute icon is baby guling.
The roast suckling pig.
That's the one. Spit-roasted whole pig, prized for its unbelievably crispy skin and tender meat, usually served with rice, spicy sambal, and lor, a mix of minced meat and vegetables. Warung Ibu Oka in Ubud is probably the most famous spot for it.
Okay, bucket list item. Anything lighter?
Nasi campur is perfect for that. It means mixed rice. You get a plate of rice with small portions of various dishes, maybe some curry, grilled meat, vegetables, sambal, a little taste of everything.
Great way to sample.
In night markets, yes, like the Gianyar night market. Look for satsillit there. It's minced fish or pork sada mixed with spices and uniquely molded onto lemongrass skewers before grilling. The lemongrass adds this amazing fragrance.
Lemongrass skewers, wow.
Okay.
Tips for Indonesia?
Ask about spice levels. Tidak pedas means not spicy.
Good to know.
Support the local warongs. They often have the most authentic food. Remember, Indonesia is huge. Try regional specialties if you travel, like mie ush from Sumatra or ayam taliwang from Lombok. And stay hydrated. Coconut water or iced tea are great choices.
Perfect. Our final stop, the Philippines. A fiesta of flavors, I hear.
That's a great way to put it. Filipino street food is a vibrant mix, indigenous roots, Spanish colonial influence, Chinese touches, bold, hearty, and often communal.
Let's start in Manila. What are the street food staples?
Skewers are huge. You absolutely have to try ISAW.
Intestines, right.
Yep, chicken or pork intestines, cleaned thoroughly, marinated in vinegar and spices, then grilled until crispy, surprisingly tangy and addictive.
Okay, maybe I'll be brave.
What else? Quick. These bright orange battered quail eggs, deep fried. You find them in places like Quiapo Market, served with a vinegar dip. Simple but satisfying crunch.
Sounds fun. Anything more substantial?
Oh, yes. Sisig. It's legendary. Finely chopped pork face, ears and liver, sizzled on a hot plate with calamansi lime juice and chili, often topped with a raw egg that cooks on the plate and served with rice.
Sizzling pork face. Intense.
It originated in Pampanga, but it's everywhere now. Incredibly flavorful. And for dessert, the ultimate Filipino treat.
Has to be halo.
Exactly. Mix. Shaved ice layered with all sorts of goodies. Sweet beans, jellies, fruits, leche flan, ube, purple yam, ice cream, evaporated milk. A glorious, chaotic mix.
Sounds like an experience in a glass. Let's move to Cebu. Seafood is big there, right?
Absolutely. Being an island province, Cebu has fantastic seafood. And the unique way to eat rice with it. Puso.
What's that?
Rice cooked inside woven palm leaf pouches, often diamond-shaped. It's portable, convenient, and perfect with grilled seafood like squid, pusit, or milkfish, bangus. Places like Larjin Food Park are famous for this kind of barbecue.
The rice absorbs flavor from the leaves.
A subtle fragrance, yeah.
Okay.
And Cebu's other massive claim to fame, the best lechon, many say. Whole roasted pig, incredibly crispy skin, succulent meat. Different from Balinese baby going, often served with a liver-based sauce. It's a celebration dish, but you can find stalls selling it by weight.
Okay, Cebu lechon versus Bali body going, a tough contest.
Yeah.
Any sweet snacks in Cebu?
Try turon, banana, sometimes with jackfruit, wrapped in a spring roll wrapper, deep fried, and coated in caramelized sugar. Simple, crispy, sweet.
Yum. Okay, final tips for Filipino street food adventures.
Embrace the skewers. So much variety. Always check for cleanliness. Look for stalls that seem popular and well-maintained.
Good general rule.
Engage with the vendors. Filipinos are generally very friendly and happy to chat about their food, and definitely try different halo variations. Every region, every vendor might have their own special twist.
This has been an incredible journey through flavors. Before we wrap up, any overall tips for navigating Southeast Asia's street food culture in general? Etiquette.
Yeah, a few things. Respect local customs, like in Muslim areas of Malaysia or Indonesia, use your right hand for eating if you're eating by hand.
Right hand, okay.
Bargaining isn't really done for food prices. They're usually fixed and very fair. But a smile goes a long way. Learn basic greetings. Sawasdi in Thailand, Xin Chao in Vietnam, Selamat Pagi Siang Malam in Malaysia, Indonesia, Kumusta in the Philippines. It shows respect.
And timing. When's best to go?
Night markets often really get going after 6 p.m. Morning markets are great for breakfast dishes like pho or nasi lemak.
Good to know. And food safety, always a concern for travelers.
Very important. We've mentioned choosing busy stalls. High turnover means fresher ingredients. Opt for food cooked fresh in front of you, especially grilled items. Piping hot is generally safer.
Makes sense. Drinks.
Stick to bottled water, canned drinks, or things made with boiled water like tea or coffee. Fresh coconut water is usually fine too, open in front of you. And if you have allergies, be really clear. Nuts, shellfish, soy are common. Maybe carry a translation card.
Smart. How do you find those real hidden gems beyond the famous spots?
Ask locals, seriously. Taxi drivers, hotel staff, people you meet, they often know the best neighborhood spots that aren't in guidebooks.
Good old word of mouth.
Exactly. Also, check out local food blogs or Instagram accounts dedicated to street food in that city. They often uncover great finds. And don't be afraid to wander down side streets. Sometimes the best discoveries are just around the corner, away from the main tourist bustle.
Southeast Asian street food really does sound like an extraordinary culinary journey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's so much more than just eating. It's a taste of culture, history.
It absolutely is. That energy, the aromas, the warmth of the vendors. It's an experience that stays with you. It really connects you to the place.
Well, we sincerely hope this deep dive has maybe sparked your appetite and inspired you to plan your own street food adventure someday. To just dive in, embrace the delicious chaos, and find those unforgettable flavors. Thank you so much for joining us on the Learn English Lab. If you enjoyed this exploration, please do like this video, share it with fellow food lovers, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more fascinating content.